recording. Back on it.
Communist activity during the Cold War. The CIA Tibetan program didn't endure, however, effectively falling by the wayside in the aftermath of former President Richard Nixon's diplomatic visit to China in 1972.
I think nobody say Dharma of China. All everywhere say Dharma of Tibet.
What, buddy?
Number 17, bad backs.
No one knew whether it was safe,
Backs.
whether it would be
Man,
effective,
now this is looking
but people
blurry.
were so both
Come on,
afraid
bro.
and believers that they volunteered their school kids to be guinea pigs for this new vaccine.
Political controversies over a vaccine weren't solely the product of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Early versions of an oral vaccine intended to combat polio were actually found to have contained trace amounts of SV40. This was a virus commonly found in monkeys that was known in some cases to cause cancer in certain animals. Scientists worried about the potential spread to humans, although no actual cases of cancer infection were found as a result of exposure to SV40. Still, bad polio vaccinations containing the virus were distributed to Americans for 6 years, between 1955 and 1961.
In 1952, Jonas Salk developed an effective vaccine, and by 1954, children were lined up everywhere to get it.
Number 16,
Great.
the Nayera testimony.
There, I
It
saw
was
the
the first time, I think, when the American people were focused on what was happening to the Kuwaiti citizens at the hands of the Iraqi soldiers.
It seems beyond the pale that organizations such as Amnesty International would, at least initially, corroborate the false testimony Nayera El-Sabah delivered to a human rights caucus back in 1990. The truth is that El-Sabah's claims against Iraqi soldiers, stories of wartime atrocities against children, were lies.
If an Iraqi soldier is found dead in a neighborhood, they burn to the ground all the houses in the general vicinity. I would not let firefighters come until the only action rebel was left.
The young girl was revealed to have been working with the exiled Kuwaiti government in a propaganda scheme, one that was intended to drum up international support for American military action in the region.
Shit, good ass action. Show guy.
Amnesty International did eventually discover the truth and publicly criticized the administration of George H.W. Bush for their involvement in the scandal.
He always in
funding
the
had
south.
one purpose: to get a lethargic American public to support intervention and a war against Iraq.
Number 15, Madam President.
And they prop up Woodrow Wilson in the Oval Office. So he's like sitting there and they like move his arm and then they just release that to the press, and that's how dumb people were back then.
A serious decline in the health of a sitting president can potentially prove disastrous for any
he was
country.
dead
The
when that
United
happened?
States largely attempted to keep the health of its 28th Commander-in-Chief, Woodrow Wilson, a closely guarded secret. The president suffered a severe stroke on October 2nd, 1919, a medical emergency from which he would never really recover. Wilson relied upon multiple members of his inner circle during this time, including the First Lady, Edith Wilson. Today, the
He
president's
relied?
wife is seen by many historians as
Let's
a
go.
de facto leader, the nation's first female president in everything but name only.
Or he wasn't dead, but if he a vegetable,
It
that's
sounds like he was a
considered,
vegetable,
that's
yeah.
considered dead, right?
Even though his life may depend upon it.
Might as well. That's crazy. And they talking about my.
There's only one answer.
Number 14, Operation Paperclip.
And everything's in a movie, nigga.
I'm proud to be heading up the American
Maybe they made a
program.
movie before that.
This is what this is.
For one day,
Little bit.
take us to the moon.
That's one of his
In the
conspiracies.
aftermath of World War II, there were a lot of moving political parts, but it seems beyond comprehension that the United States would welcome their former Nazi enemies into their scientific community. Yet that was essentially the purpose of
Of course they
Operation
would.
Paperclip, a lifting of elite scientific minds from
I already know
Germany,
about this.
some who were former members of the Nazi Party.
used
It
them
was
to-
actually initialized while World War II was still technically
Used them.
going on. The purpose was ostensibly for the U.S. to learn from their enemies, while at the same time getting a leg up for the emerging.
That's exactly what happened when a lot of Nazis went to Argentina. Was it Argentina? Gross. Yeah, they went to. A lot of Nazis went to Argentina, and then same thing. They use them so that, you know what I'm saying, they can get a advantage.
The better hand.
Cold War.
A lot of these dudes, some of these evil dudes that was out there killing millions of people, out there just living their best life.
With a spirit of bold curiosity for the adventure ahead.
Yeah. they say
Number
evil
13,
too.
the Tuskegee Syphilis Study.
None of those
That's when they did on black folks.
men were
Yeah.
told they were syphilis. None
Bullshit.
of them were treated with effective panaceas. None of their families were ever warned, and none consented to take part
That's why
in
folks.
what is now known
as the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
It's unclear exactly how long the Tuskegee syphilis study would have gone on had not news of the scandal leaked in 1972. This was a medical study that lasted long after funding ran out. For an astonishing 40 years, it was an observation of how syphilis manifested itself in an untreated body. Information and treatments were intentionally withheld from the volunteers of the study, who were black men who were promised free health care.
Hey, how come that needle's so big? I ain't never seen no needle that color, Miss Evers. It's a gold needle. Lay down here. It's real gold.
A black woman to do it too. Oh! Dumbass mother.
Organizers from the United States Public Health Service, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the historically black Tuskegee Institute behaved unethically until they were caught.
The government settled out of court for $10 million.
Yeah,
divided among the survivors and relatives of those who had died.
A cold nigga, 500 billion something.
What's up, bro? They want to be like, why can't black folks just build their lives up? Why they gotta keep on saying this happened and dwelling on the past? Now you see why, mother truckers. That's crazy.
Settled out of court for 10 million. Nigga, that's wild.
Where'd that go to though? Name one person you know.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's not even a lot.
Did it go to the people that was actually affected? But they said it went on for 40 years.
Bro, 10 million don't even sound like a lot. 10 million, that's not, nigga.
Bruh, 40 years. How many of those people died? They couldn't have gave everybody money.
10 million's not enough.
That's crazy.
Number 12, surveillance state.
Let me get off before I get mad at me.
Surveillance is a bad thing. While targeted surveillance is tolerable because they go after very specific individuals or very specific groups.
40 years!
Who decides what's private? Obviously not us, since we all travel around on a daily basis with eyes of the surveillance state lurking within our pockets. The whistleblowing of Edward Snowden back in 2013 essentially said out loud what many of us were already thinking in our heads.
And it's become an expectation that we're being watched. Many people I've talked to have mentioned that they're careful about what they type into search engines.
They're watching us, governments, telecommunications companies, and yes, our cell phones. The United States National Security Agency sees and stores all of our private data, information that's now probably the most valuable currency in the world. Those proverbial eyes in the skies aren't the subject of scientific fiction novels anymore. They're very much real.
The amount of data PRISM and other monitoring programs pick up, trillions of communications each year, is so vast, NSA is building this sprawling $2 billion facility in Utah just to store it all.
Oh, we heard about that place while I was up there in Utah. That's what they say a lot of your data and stuff is going. That's what they talk about, clones and stuff.
It means
with the,
infiltration of the Democrats.
What's that?
The members of
the
Southern
DNA
Rock
thing,
icons Leonard Skinner may not have been bothered by Watergate, but a lot of other folks were certainly uneasy about this scandal.
A lot of that shit like that.
It seems almost cute given our current political climate. A lot of other folks were.
My day
probably have to edit that part out.
Double cross. In our present context, it means infiltration of the Democrats.
The members of Southern Rock icons Leonard Skinner may not have been bothered by Watergate, but a lot of other folks were certainly up in arms about this scandal.
Oh, he said Watergate does not bother me.
It seems almost cute given our current political climate how a botched burglary and wiretapping affair led to the resignation of a sitting American president. The daily news cycle of an average Wednesday could potentially see stories of WTF political corruption that make Watergate seem like tiddlywinks in comparison.
The staff itself was not doing very much as a matter of individual initiative. They were carrying out Richard Nixon's instructions day to day.
Yet it's important to recall the shock of Watergate, of how it made even the average citizen stand up and take notice of what those in the highest offices of power were doing on the down low.
The president stayed up until 1:30 a.m., wandering the halls of the White House and reflecting on the third-rate burglary that ended his career.
Idiots. Have some of these commercials. That was what happened today. They wouldn't even bat an eye.
Control. It was known as Project MK Ultra, a secret U.S. government program that conducted
this was actually freaked out. I watched a whole video
often
on
without
this.
their knowledge or consent.
When you hear about what they was doing in like Harvard and stuff, they was taking students.
Once the men were in the apartments, they would go dosed with LSD, and then they were basically studied by CIA scientists, usually behind a two-way mirror.
Specifically, MK Ultra was part of a larger umbrella of projects that sought whether or not LSD could be used as a means of torture or assist in interrogation or foreign defections. These drug experiments started in the late 50s and continued into the 1970s. Subjects were chosen from a pool that did not fight back, such as prisoners, sex workers, or patients dwelling in mental hospitals.
Under the direction of infamous
And kids at school.
Dr. Ewan Cameron, unsuspecting patients, many of whom had common ailments such as postpartum depression, were experimented on with aggressive drug cocktails and extreme techniques.
The CIA had many files associated with MK Ultra destroyed in 1973, although some evidence was declassified in 2001.
He never came out the same. He had a blank look in his eye. He didn't know who we were. He didn't know we were his daughters.
Number 9, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. How do you start a war? Simple. Blame it on the other guy. Did the United States falsify an attack in the South China Sea in order to justify a more intense presence in the Vietnam War? Yes and no. The truth is that the USS Maddox was attacked by 3 Vietnam People's Navy boats on August 2nd, 1964. The attack was a sound victory for the Maddox with no American casualties and a scattered Vietnamese fleet. However, the second attack on August 4th was a non-event, based on faulty information and a desire to drum up more support for the war at home.
At daybreak, reconnaissance planes scanned the ocean for a slick of oil, a stick of wood, anything that would be evidence of a North Vietnamese attack. Nothing could be found.
The declassified truth was that the USS Turner Joy fired upon nothing, while the report at the time was that more Vietnamese boats were on the Gulf of Tonkin on that day.
These niggas always trying to blame somebody, put the finger on somebody else.
Crazy,
The
y'all.
attacks were unprovoked.
That too was a lie.
Number 8, spike punch. The United States government was very intent on dissuading bootleggers and upholding
That's why I was going back and saying. That's why it's hard for
By 1920,
the government was to say something. It's
American
hard
law
to believe
enforcement is
them. They lie all the time.
prohibition
They said they was scavenging. I mean, they was flying over the other. This to find something. This to
They were
point the
so
finger.
intent,
That's
in fact,
wild.
that they even took to poisoning their own people.
See
The
who we
process
can
was
get.
known as
Just to see.
denaturation of
Oh,
industrial
this-
alcohols, and it basically means adding dangerous chemicals to ethyl alcohol, so that it couldn't be used to produce booze.
Can we do something to this alcohol that makes it much riskier to drink and use that essentially as a chemical enforcement of prohibition?
The Department of the Treasury
Crazy.
actively pressured this process to
So
the point where it's alleged that
basically-
over
is that what-
10,000
is it
people
Like
saying-
to
died
stop them
from
from
ingesting
drinking
denatured-
because they tried to get
Or
rid
is it
of.
so? It's on you if you want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Drink it.
That's fucking crazy because you know that's trying to get people to stop drinking back in the day. That's how the mob got involved with government. Crazy, man.
So
They
if
be
you
telling.
want to drink it, it's on you if you want to die.
I don't know if it's if you want to die. They probably just put it in there and people probably start dying.
Did
Or
they
getting
tell him?
sick.
alcohol.
Let's see.
It's incredible to think that a country would actively poison its populace in this way.
Can we do something to this alcohol that makes it much riskier to drink and use that essentially as a chemical enforcement of prohibition?
The Department of the Treasury actively pressured this process to the point where it's alleged that over 10,000 people died from ingesting denatured alcohol. It's incredible to think that a country would actively poison its populace in this way, but here, truth is stranger than fiction.
Sounds like
federal
they
government
probably
itself
did
was a
tell.
willing party in the poisoning because they were adding this to alcohol that they knew was going to be repurposed and sold as beverage alcohol.
Number 7, Operation
That's
Northwoods.
crazy.
You may have heard the term
So
false
it's one of
flag
those like,
operation in
man,
recent
you see
years, but
everybody
do you know what it
drinking
actually
is
means?
dying,
It's an
don't drink.
Yeah.
It's one of those to mess up the psychology.
Well, no, because they wanted the people to stop drinking.
Well,
what
that's
they
a
wanted.
good cycle.
They made it illegal, but people was like, freak that, we still gonna drink. So that's when they started doing the bootlegging. That's when they started making illegal.
The moonshine and stuff.
Yeah, all that extra stuff.
So they were just adding chemicals to things that they knew that they were going.
Yeah.
Dang, that's wild. But it's
That's y'all's government.
That's wild. It was a good, but look, it's a good thing because alcohol it be messing you up. But to literally just to like, honey's gonna die. I'm about to poison this. So you
That'd be like your mom saying you shouldn't be eating sweets. You say, Mom, I want sweets anyway. Yeah, she started poisoning. That's crazy.
Okay, never mind.
You gonna learn. Hey, if 3 out of 5 kids die, then they should have known.
No more sweets.
Hell no, that's crazy.
But look, imagine though, 3 or 4 kids die eating the sweets. You ain't gonna want to eat them sweets no more though.
Hey,
So
I ain't never eaten a sweet for the rest
end,
of my life.
At the end of the day, look, they saved 2 of them.
Yeah,
3 out of them parties, they saved 2 of them kids.
Hell no. He said those ones that was listening, that's the one she wanted anyway.
That's wild. So they was just knocking people off.
Knocking people off. Yeah, this is crazy, bro. And they just saying it casually, like
old naval techniques
just
commonly
history.
used by pirates with the intent of disguising one's
Crazy.
true intentions by committing to an act of misdirection.
The document outlines the methods in which they would do just that. Specifically, one crazy idea after another.
Operation Northwoods was one such event that almost came to fruition. Acts of homegrown terrorism designed to drum up support for military action against Cuba during the Cold War. The plan was for the CIA to engage in terrorism upon American targets, before then blaming the actions on the Cuban government. Thankfully, President John F. Kennedy shot this plan down before it could come to pass.
I am talking about genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on Earth worth living.
Number 6, the Iran-Contra affair. It was a
Bro,
scandal
that shit sounded exactly like 9/11.
that rocked
Johnny,
the
hear
Reagan
that from me.
administration during the 1980s. Secret backdoor dealings of military arms that led to finger-pointing excuses and depositions.
Whoa!
The Iran-Contra affair dealt with the United States illegally funneling weapons to the government of Iran, despite an embargo being placed on the country during this time.
$30 million had been allocated for the weapons. The CIA funneled a portion of that money to the Contras in Nicaragua, the group Reagan supported in their guerrilla fight against the Sandinista government.
The money from those arms was then intended to fight communism in Nicaragua, funding the right-wing Contra groups that were accused of numerous assaults to human rights, as well as acts of terrorism.
Reagan called the Contras the moral equivalent of our founding fathers.
There were other
Ronald Reagan
elements to
was
the
a
affair
devil.
as well, including how much Reagan knew about the Contra money, as well as the proposed arms for hostages trades with Iran. Number 5, Prescott Bush and the coup. The Bush family has a long political history, both with Governor Jeb Bush as well as former presidents George W. and George Herbert Walker. The latter's father, Prescott
just let it
Bush,
go.
was a particularly interesting
I'm not
figure in
crazy. I
American
don't want to harm
history.
myself.
Although perhaps not. The former senator
Yeah,
of
that was
Connecticut was
crazy.
allegedly involved in something called the Business Plot, a conspiracy to overthrow President Franklin Delano Roosevelt via a coup d'etat and install a dictator in his place.
Wanted to establish a government modeled on Italian-style fascism. Although newspapers of the time ridiculed the allegations, Congress moved forward with a formal investigation.
It should be said that opinions differ as to how far discussions of this plot went and the level of involvement Prescott Bush possessed, but one thing's for sure, this was almost a very dark day in American history.
Never before, since Jamestown and Plymouth Rock, has our American civilization been in such
We didn't land
danger
no Plymouth
as
Rock.
now.
Number 4, Project Sunshine. It only took 3 years for the purpose of Project Sunshine to be revealed to the public, but by then, the damage had already been done. The research performed by Project Sunshine was intended to measure the effects of radioactivity upon society at large, specifically in the aftermath of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. Unfortunately, the way in which this research was conducted is nothing short of disgraceful.
So human samples are of prime importance, and if anyone knows how to do a good job of body snatching, they will really be serving their country.
Basic body snatching was the name of the game here, as remains were quite literally swept up from under the noses of unwitting victims. It's the sort of crime done in the name of science that sounds better suited to a horror movie. Number 3, the Pentagon Papers.
On Sunday, June 13th, 1971, the New York Times published a report that would change history.
One of the biggest suspicions of the 1960s was that the president was lying about the Vietnam War in order to save face. It sounded cynical, like most conspiracy theories, until 1971 when military analyst Daniel Ellsberg leaked the Pentagon Papers. This massive trove of documents proved that 4 consecutive administrations had systematically lied to both Congress and the public. The papers revealed that the U.S. had secretly expanded the war with coastal attacks and bombing raids in Laos, all while President Johnson promised that he sought no wider war. It was a bombshell revelation, Officials knew early on that the war was unwinnable, but continued fighting to avoid humiliation, permanently shattering public trust in the American government.
Concerned that the public was being lied to.
Hey, we know that we were wrong, but we're going to keep fighting because we got to prove a point.
To members of Congress,
we can brag about it.
So in 1970, Ellsberg leaked portions to the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Number 2, COINTELPRO.
We need more people like
that. The projects gathered under the umbrella of COINTELPRO went far beyond mere smear campaigns. No, these were intentional and relentless attacks by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation against groups they considered undesirable. These included, but weren't limited to, the Black Panther Party, anti-Vietnam protesters, and even movie stars, such as Breathless star Gene Seberg.
Je ne peux pas me passer de toi.
Oh là là, ça c'est bien les idées des garçons.
Media manipulation, psychological warfare, and even political assassinations were all fair game under COINTELPRO, and all committed under the direction of former FBI head J. Edgar Hoover.
Secret FBI memos made public today show that the late J. Edgar Hoover ordered a nationwide campaign to disrupt the activities of the New Left without telling any of his superiors about it.
Legendary civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. even had his phone tapped by agents who sought to use King's marital infidelity as a means to discredit his work.
The FBI at one time sought to blackmail the late Martin Luther King.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos.
I think back then,
yeah. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, targeted assassinations. Some of the conspiracies discussed on this list were actually exposed to the public back in 1975 by an investigation known as the Church Committee. This committee put the plans of MK Ultra, COINTELPRO, and more on the books, while also revealing some even more troubling news, that the CIA had been carrying out targeted assassinations.
Today's open hearing did focus major attention on the way the CIA has gone about its business in the United States.
What's even wilder is the reveal that the organization held in their possession something colloquially known as a heart attack gun. The weapon was battery-powered and was said to inject an ice bullet that contained a poisonous shellfish toxin.
In terms of its lethality,
I think that
quantity was sufficient to kill at least 14,000 people.
This resulted in death by what appeared to be a heart attack, and it's been conspiratorially linked with the mysterious deaths of everyone from Marilyn Monroe, JFK, and J. Edgar Hoover himself. What do you make of this?
They could have used it on him.
Let us know in the comments below.
Yo, that's crazy.
That was wild. So, out of all 30 of those, you feel me, I probably knew about 4 or 5. The rest is new to me, which is, you feel me, it doesn't really blow my mind because I know the government's like this and full of shit, so.
It blows my mind, man. That's some evil stuff that they was doing, bro. Like, crazy. 40 years, nigga. Like, get off of that one. That was crazy,
40
bro.
40 years and only gave $10 million. You feel me? Settled out of court for $10 million. And that $10 million didn't go to nobody that probably had that disease, the syphilis. So, you feel me? It's tragic, man. It's tragic, but this is the government, man.
Giving people heart attacks. How do you have a heart attack gun? Where you even find one of those at?
I didn't even think of shit like that.
Yeah, who came up with that idea, y'all? Hey, dog. I got something that can make it have a heart attack. What?
Heart attack.
Yeah, you're going to slide on the ops. You're going to give them all heart attacks. But, hey, if 10 people have heart attacks at once, is that a conspiracy? Or that's crazy. That's wild.
This was good, though. You feel me? Watch. Wait, I forgot what this.
Like and subscribe.
I forgot what this channel is, but this is a good one. We're gonna have some more of these conspiracies. You feel me? Cause I'm into it. He gonna get into it because I'm into it. So you feel me? We're gonna be posting more of these. But this is the first one, which was a good one. You feel me? So I hope y'all like these two. You feel me? And we're gonna catch y'all on the next one.
Catch y'all on the next one. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be out of here. Boom, gone.
Peace.
Iron Man 23.
Iron Man 23. And we're out of here.
We out of here.
Iron Knight.